the company basically held a PR stream for 15 minutes on one of their other big talents channels. And it was hosted on Alira Pandora's channel, another fairly large member of Nijisanji English. They hosted a 15-minute announcement, somewhat on behalf of the company, somewhat ostensibly on behalf of the 3 VTubers in said stream. The 3 being Ike Eveland, Vox Akuma, and Alira Pandora. All 3 large members of Nijisanji English, where it is very clear that that it was scripted, as in like they had written it down. I do think that they wrote their own script, and I don't think that this was like handed to them by management. I do think that the case presented to them by management was probably very cherry picked and not great, but basically they talked about how they were frustrated and worried about the entire situation with Selene, and that they believed that she was at fault in various times for not getting proper approval from management before doing things, which is one of those things that is probably kind of true, right? Like she clearly did not get the final sign off, but a large part of the story is the incompetence of management to fail to coordinate with their talents on projects that had been going for long durations of time, leading up to like when those things were supposed to come out or release or occur, and them just being like, well, no, we just haven't done it yet. You don't have permission. And that's what causes the frustration in the first place. There's really no excuse for it. And during this 15-minute call, they posted screenshots of Discord messages between management and Selene, which is already fucking wild. I think that they wanted to say some things, but also that they were very much like, I think it's some of both. And this might be a controversial take, but I do not give those 3 streamers a pass and assume that they were coerced into making these statements. I just don't believe that. I think that they may be misled or misguided. And if they were, quote, forced to do this, then that's a whole different thing that they're going to have to come out with. But until otherwise proven, I am going to believe that they feel the things that they said because they went on live stream to say it. Like, it was not, they said it with their own voices and their own mouths. And if they didn't believe it, that's on them. But I'm going to give them the agency to do it. And so they were showing these messages between Selene and management, where basically Selene said, hey, here's the video for permissions. And they said, oh, well, there's images of those past talents of previous members in this video, which means it'll take longer to get permissions. And it's ridiculous on its face, because the entire proposition of being in a corporate environment like that is that the streamers don't own the IP. The company owns the IP in its entirety, which is why it's always so sad when a talent, quote, graduates, because that means that they can't exist under that persona and all of the work that they have done anymore. So to basically, when management says, well, you have images of other properties that we own, that's going to make it take longer. Like, that's exactly the kind of bullshit that is so frustrating and so difficult. And there's no way that she told them that at the last second. I also want to point out that in these screenshots, the dates on them are literally like one day before it was supposed to release. And I guarantee you they were working on this music video for 2 to 3 months at least. So like, I just don't believe that Selene wasn't trying to get them to like pay attention to what was going on. So it's already kind of wild that they're posting this in this venue, and kind of wild that they're posting private DMs in this venue. But what gets wilder is that the talents in this current statement expressed that they were worried about being doxxed because they had been told information that Selen had shared with Nijisanji. And they were largely responding to comments that she had made in this document. And it's very crucially important to state that the document that these talents are discussing was addressed immediately after the stream occurred by Doki, aka Selen, previously known as Selen. That this was a document containing her personal medical records of the attempt on her own life and the reason for her hospitalization, the circumstances that led to it, including negative interactions with various members of the company, various other people. And it was signed off by her lawyers and Nijisanji's lawyers to be a document only to be reviewed by the management and the lawyers for legal matters. And in this fucking live stream, they came out and said that management showed them these documents. I can't, there are no words for how batshit insane that is. That they had talents say, hey, we were worried that we were going to get doxxed because some of the things in here were talking about our personal lives. And it's like, yeah, bro, it's not doxing when you're talking to lawyers about legal situations between you and the company. It is also definitely between lawyers that you're not supposed to see it. So the fact that this came out, and this was all, again, like I said, it was very clear that they were reading from a script, and they said that it was cleared with their management what they were saying and what they were allowed to say. It is absolutely insane. And it is insane. And what's happening, I cannot believe that this company thinks that this is like appropriate communication methods for these things. And I also want to bring up, this is really interesting to me because when we were talking about the situation last week where Selen had been terminated and all of the things regarding Japanese defamation laws, all of that, I brought up that in Japanese law, it is very draconian in the favor of companies that essentially you do not have to prove, or defamation is considered defamation if the statement was made with any intent to harm the entity that it was about, right? So it doesn't matter if it's true. There are cases in Japan where basically someone is convicted of a crime or like injures somebody and somebody writes about it and then gets in trouble for defamation because they wrote it with the intent of it damaging that party's reputation, which of course it did because it's true, right? In America and Canada, it's not defamation if it's true. Like if you're just telling the truth, it's not defamation. It's just the truth. It's only defamation if it's a lie, or unsubstantiatable. So in Japan, it's very pro whoever is suing to say that you defamed them. And Nijisanji put out statements essentially alleging that Selen had defamed them, which under Japanese law, probably you could say, because she said, you know, management is preventing me from doing XYZ and it's really bad. And like, yeah, you say that because it looks bad for that group, and it's true, but that's still defamation in Japan. But what's interesting about that is that Selen is not Japanese and she is sort of a contract employee. And so how that works out in the law is perhaps very complicated. And this is so broad daylight, clearly an attempt to defame Selen by a Japanese company. So like they are very clearly doing something that's even more a slam dunk case of defamation law in Japan, which is just wild because it's like, if they want to sue her for that, she's got a way better case that they're doing it back which is yeah, it, like the countersuit is very fascinating. I don't know what the law is like in Canada. Spoilers, Selena's from Canada. I don't know what the law is like for Canada with regard to health disclosures and with regard to legal sealed documents. I'm sure it's bad. I know that some people have been spouting off about HIPAA. Just sorry to break it to you all. HIPAA is a United States law and also probably not actually applicable in this case. HIPAA is a very misunderstood set of regulations, but regardless, the point is I am certain that there was some illegality here for breach of confidentiality, and that's really big. That's a really bad look, and it's baffling to me that, again, that they would stream this on, first of all, if they would stream it instead of pre-record it. Why would you do that? It's YouTube. You can just fucking record a video. You don't have to live stream it. Yeah, no, an American set of laws does not apply to the whole world. And even if it did, this wouldn't be a breach of HIPAA, almost certainly, because HIPAA only has to do with information between your healthcare providers and you, the patient. But if you willingly give your data over to somebody who isn't a healthcare provider, it's not protected under HIPAA. Yada, yada. I know too much about HIPAA, but that's not really the topic. But even so, the confidentiality and the sensitive nature of it is absolutely wild. And I'm so confused by this entire situation. Hilariously, they locked the live comments, but they didn't lock comments. So you couldn't, like, so now people are commenting under that video, and there were, last I checked, 6,000 comments in like the half hour since it had posted. And it is crazy, absolutely insane. And live comments wasn't locked either. Oh man, what a dumpster fire. I can't, just the level of incompetence. I do want to say I saw a comment about this that I think was interesting and probably fairly accurate. I had commented before that it seems as though Nijisanji runs its entire PR operation as a very much like a Japanese company, especially an idol company, and in the way that it's very monolithic and essentially threatens blacklisting, and it is very like, we will never admit any wrong, we cannot do any wrong, you're just wrong and bad and evil, goodbye, you are the weakest link, terminated. But that doesn't really fly with a Western audience. And somebody commented on this today and said it's very common in the anime, TV, movies, industries, etc. in Japan that if a company fucks up really bad, they basically have the actors go and make prepared statements to garner sympathy for the company because people like the actors. And I'm not going to say that these three were forced to do it in the way that an actor might be, but I will say that it very much tracks with my opinion that they are running their PR exactly like a Japanese company's PR does in Japan. And it does not work. That does not fly. that does not work in America and the West at large. In Europe, we don't take too kindly to that, and it's, yeah, man, what a shit show. What an actual shit show. It is insane to me what is happening. In between these, there was a lot of minor things happening where people were starting to leak various private messages, but I didn't really want to talk about that or cover it because it wasn't that pertinent to what was happening before, and it felt very clout chasey that, you know, people were leaking these conversations that really didn't have anything to do with the primary disputes that were happening. And so, but the fact that the real company is now like showing Discord DMs is fucking hilarious. I don't know. Also, they were like cut up. It wasn't a continuous Discord transcript that was shown on stream. Okay, here we go. Yeah, okay. So this is the screenshot that they put up in that stream, which again is very, like, obviously they're censoring names and stuff. That's fine. But like, if we look here at these timestamps, this is December 25th, you know, which is like the day that it was coming out, or the day after it was coming out, that they're like, hey, this entire conversation should have happened before, which leads me to believe that it almost certainly did happen before, and they just didn't get their ass in gear and do anything until the last possible second. But also, like, this is very clearly not a contiguous discussion that they're clipping, right? They're only clipping like one line at a time, or part of line at a time. And I don't know, man. It's wild that the company would officially show this on their live stream that was quote unquote all approved by management before they made these statements. And I don't know, man. It's crazy. It is crazy to me. It's crazy. Anyway, so that's about enough of that. I think you guys get the idea of what happened and the absolute shit show of a disaster